Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to How Did They Do That Live October edition. The topic this month is Internet Safety Awareness Month, and just a quick reminder of what How They Do That is. How Do They Do That is not myself or the other trainer, Angela, teaching you how to do something. The spirit of How They Do That is we're taking great teaching that's happening in the classroom that happens to use technology and really uplifting that voice and those teachers so that anyone all across the district is able to see that. So, and every month we do these, and every month we have a different topic. This month is Internet Safety Month, and so as you know, in honor of that, we are talking about internet safety today, and we have three great presenters lined up for you. The first presenter is really going to go over the entire TK6 curriculum, and it's going to be Joseph Mesa, our digital curriculum coordinator. And then we're going to hear from a computer literacy teacher, Linda Farnon. And then we're going to get an example of the 912 perspective by Jamie Fredrickson as well. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear from these presenters, and I'm excited that you're all here for How Do They Do That today. So with that being said, we will go ahead and get started. Okay, good. You're good to go. All right, go ahead, Jamie.
All right, hi everyone. I'm Jamie Fredrickson. Talking about a little bit of what at least my site did at the 912 level about digital citizenship and internet safety. And much like Joseph mentioned, you know, this is something our students maybe don't get explicitly all the time, especially at the high school level. There's no required computer literacy class anymore. It kind of is expected to get sprinkled in everywhere else, and teachers are really crammed with curriculum. So it was really cool that my site, Davis, I think Elliott, and I think many other high schools chose some form of what I'm going to show to you today, making an ISTA day so we could actually focus on the content more than the internet safety tutorial and agreement being something students just have to, you know, check off a box and then they move on with their day, because there is a lot of important information, like everyone said, that maybe we forget about as we get so comfortable sitting with technology. So that's me. I should have put my email on there, but I can add it at the end. But I'm Jamie Fredrickson, and I'm from Gregory High School, the library media teacher there. And for all of the content that I'm going to show you, I worked with Claire Barrows, who's the library media teacher at Davis High School. And so we collaborated to get to the point that I'm going to show you today. I felt like what I had to show wasn't super exciting, but when I reflected on the process we went through, it took a lot, so hopefully maybe you'll get something from that. But the topics that are covered in the internet tutorial that students are required to do at our level, a few of the key topics are digital citizenship. We also added focusing on online learning, copyright and plagiarism, which Claire and myself are former English teachers, so that one's near and dear to our heart. And then internet safety and security. So our main goals in this were to create something that was easily shared and transferred via Schoology, because we were going to share with every teacher on campus something to be given every period on a short Wednesday. And so we wanted self-guided activities, which in some ways was sad, like seeing Joseph's live lesson where you can ask questions, read kids' responses, is really cool, but we wanted something that didn't, you know, burden every teacher at our site and still provide something meaningful for our students. In the end, these were the programs and resources that we used. Edpuzzle, which I'll show you guys briefly, but if you don't know, it's a program where you have videos, you can annotate, stop and ask questions along the way, do checks for understanding. Nearpod, which you saw a glimpse of with Joseph's presentation. We put it all in Schoology, and we used resources, a lot from Common Sense Media, like he referenced at the K6 level. There's a lot of content there for the upper grades as well. And then we stole from our amazing MCS Ed Tech team, and some of their videos ended up in our content as well. So trying to direct students to a lot of resources that exist while assigning it to them. My quick fun fact was the Downey librarian, Julia Quinn, I believe they worked on their students completing an Edpuzzle student certification for digital citizenship. And Edpuzzle has these other little courses that you can assign students that already exist to cover topics that relate to each other. So there's some cool opportunity. Kids earn little badges to try and make it a little bit fun. So what we went through to get to our final project was a lot of trial and error, collaborated and had a lot of meetings, and we learned the power and the limits of Schoology, which many of you are probably very familiar with right now, using Schoology every day. So the first difficult lesson was that Edpuzzle assignments didn't share well in Schoology, and what I meant by that was it's great for an individual teacher to assign their Edpuzzles as it's embedded, but you can't share from there to your resources and back again. It was empty. And that also went for Nearpod, because Claire was creating Edpuzzles. I was going to use Nearpod because I love it. But we had to pivot and kind of find a way through it. So what we ended up with was a Schoology assessment for every period of the day on a short Wednesday. And these were the topics we ended up with. So digital citizenship, basically being a digital student, copyright, and then our students took the internet safety tutorial agreement in their 4th period. And then we did cover cybersecurity, even though it sounds big and scary, but we still left it in ours a little bit. And students looking at their digital footprint, and then we did an exit survey at the end. So I will show you my actual Schoology course so you can see. Oh, I will try. There we go. Okay. So this is a group in Schoology. This one's the one for my school. Other schools did a very similar thing. So in here, all of the assessments live here, and we added all of our teachers, and they were able to add it right to their course. So that was the purpose for us creating all of our content in here. So it was really easy, because Edpuzzle, Nearpod, they all have great ways within their system to share to like a site library or a district library. But the work to get it into teachers' classrooms so that students can be exposed to the material was a little bit more than fit our goals. So yeah, so I'll show you a little overview of what this looks like. If you're familiar with Schoology assessments and you use them all the time, you're just gonna say, yeah, that's great. But if not, maybe it will show you something new you can do with it. Even though it's called an assessment, these are not traditional, right, where it's here's your 30 multiple choice questions or a big performance task. But it allowed us to present information to students and hold them accountable so that teachers could use it for attendance because they saw their student signed in and how long it took them to complete it. They could give them points for it if they chose, but once a teacher adds it to their classroom, they could control the settings, but we provided the content. So this is an Edpuzzle that Claire created. And so we were able to embed it in the assessment so students can click play. They would answer the little questions. And the nice thing about Edpuzzle questions, if you haven't used it much before, is it will tell you right away whether you were right or wrong. And so students could get immediate feedback. And then we would ask pretty much those same questions afterwards in the assessment so that it gave them credit and they could further interact and prove they were listening. I even met with students today after we did our ISTA Day today at Grigori, and she said she was glad that we did Edpuzzles instead of YouTube because she probably would have tuned out, but the Edpuzzle made her kind of follow along and continue the video and have to think about what was happening. So it was confusing at first for some students because they wanted this to tell them they got points. But it doesn't because of how we shared it. So I'll show you guys what that looked like, just so you can see how we added it if it's something you're not familiar with. Make it a little teachable moment with the presentation. When we added materials into the assessment, you have all of the normal, rich text options. So you could add images that students analyze. But this source button right here, you can see it's really small, but those are the embed symbols. And then this tiny little line here is where you paste an embed code, which you can get on Google Forms, you can get on YouTube videos, and on the Edpuzzle. So what that looked like, defeat it. Okay, so here's one of the videos that's in my Edpuzzle account. And many teachers use Edpuzzle for like their full class. So they would click assign and they can send it to their class that their kids already joined. But Edpuzzle also has this option of public links. So students don't get a grade or a score within Edpuzzle. It's more of like an open practice exercise. And so that's what we did. And we took the embed code here from the videos, copied it, and then we stuck it right in the assessment. So it was a nice way for us to use what we made when it wasn't going to work for what our goals were. And it sounds like students were able to succeed, and having multiple small videos was easier for them than sitting and staring for a really long time. So that's the essence of what the students completed. What it looks like for them is here, since you just saw the teacher side. Oh, I can't scooch out of the way. But this is what the students saw as they moved through it. And they would answer the questions. And you'll see a lot of what I like about Nearpod, just like Joseph, is things like the drop down. There are drag and drop activities, fill in the blank. Right here you see a matching assignment. So Schoology Assessments really does have a lot of ways to make creative assignments that aren't just giving a test. So this would be one way you could flip parts of your classroom that hold student accountable while still presenting information. And say you don't want a 20-minute Edpuzzle that for your whole, lecture, you could give them a piece of info and still share it with other content, link them to an article, bring them back, things like that. So yeah, so that was the essence of our course. We had instructions for taking the ISTA, and we put it in an assessment as well. An exit survey, this was just a Google form for us to collect a little more data from our students on what they know and don't know, and some ways for us to kind of assess and move forward together and see what they're comfortable with tech and where we can kind of post targeted information and support on Schoology, since that's really becoming our hub for sharing things like tutoring and counseling assistance and where to get tech help, and it's our main outreach while we're a little disconnected from our students right now. So I may have left something out. I think that was most of what I wanted to share, but it was really cool. Kind of like Joseph said, we're hoping to do this make it an annual event. I would love that. Having my whole school take a day to cover all of these topics. I mean, I talked to a few senior students today in the last period and asked, was it too boring? Was it a review? And a few said most of it was review, but they were glad they were reminded of certain things, like, about how they can be tracked and the apps that they download and what permission and access they're giving to those things. The idea that seniors and juniors and people who want to go to college or get hired at jobs, that they can leave a positive digital footprint. So in this short time, under all of these limits, we were still able to give students something to think about and engage in, and take a little weight off teachers from having to design extra activities on this day. So I am hopeful. I support Joseph's statement that it should be something we try to do every year, because it was a good opportunity to cover information that maybe we miss and we assume, or it lands on teachers who may not have time to add that content. So I think that's it. I don't know if there's any questions. That's a bit of a rambler, but hopefully it shared a little bit of what we did. So thanks.
Thank you, Jamie. I didn't see any questions coming in, so I think you did a good job. So just to kind of clarify, this was what you guys did today, right? You did that today?
Yes. So Grigori did it today. Davis did it today. I'm not sure if a few other sites might have scheduled something similar on a different day. But yeah, surprisingly, I was ready for a lot of issues. And the only real issue that we had came from a few students couldn't get into the ISTA on their app portal. But teachers were able to turn everything on, enable submissions and all of that. So there were a lot of moving parts, but we tried to do great. Thanks, Priya.
So you get a nice shout out there. Well, that's an amazing training for the entire school. 2,300 students in one day. I think that's great.
Yep. Yeah.
Have you gotten any feedback? It sounds like you've talked to a couple seniors. Have you gotten any feedback overall about how the students felt about it?
Not from any other kids. I mean, a few who had issues, you know, I emailed like if a thing didn't load up. But yeah, I talked to only 4 students, but they all were able to share something that they learned. And, you know, a class that had a substitute was alerted, you know, to, hey, where's our digital assignment? Because today's we're doing these digital things. So like it did become something for the students that it was a purposeful day. So that was really cool. And Lindsay posted, yeah, that Davis, theirs went really well too. So it was, yeah, overall it seems like it was good. And I think that course would be something we would give to every freshman next year in this way, and then tailor a few things for like maybe separate upper and lower grades so kids don't get a repeat every year. So that's kind of my thinking based on student feedback. So.
Well, thank you for sharing, and here's hoping it becomes an annual thing. And one thing, maybe I wasn't a good student, but was there any mention of like evaluating news that you read online? Fake news is such a hot button issue right now.
I know, it is a missed opportunity. We didn't do a fake news, but I would like to.
Here's hoping. If this becomes an annual thing, here's hoping it's a good topic for next year, although hopefully not. Hopefully start learning some lessons about fake news.
Exactly. I had that as a hope, but I felt like 6 lessons, or I guess 5 lessons even, was a lot. So ending the day with the survey let them kind of decompress rather than cram everything in their brains till the end. But maybe this shows we could do a day like this again, you know, next semester with different information or something. So it'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be neat. Well, thank you very much.
You betcha.